So again, my name is Jason Russo. I'm the head coach for the girls outdoor spring track and field team. I have been the head coach since 2007. So this is now my 14th year. It's my 20th year coaching cross and track and field. I've also been at Haddonfield as a teacher. I would say this is my, I forget if it's 13 or 14. I've coached a season longer than I've been teaching here. But I'm really excited for the opportunity to coach these athletes again this spring season. The weather is beautiful. It's really exciting. We're in the middle of March, and spring is right around the corner. So I work primarily with the distance runners in the spring, and I'm very excited to welcome back a lot of our coaches from past season and welcome to our family for this season a coach that will be helping us out with the throws. So I'm going to give each of them an opportunity to introduce themselves, say a quick hello. If you can keep your Google Meet on mute while others are talking, it just makes it easier rather than battling with some background noise. T Mills, you ready to roll? All right, we're going to start.
Hi guys, my name is Tyler Mills. I'm the primarily do the sprints with the girls team. I was just figuring this out. This will be my 10th season, which sounds crazy to me. But so we've been doing the sprints together, Coach Seaman and I, for the past number of years, and I'm looking really forward to making the season work and do what we can to give these women a fun season and as much of a full season as we can. So thank you all for joining, and I look forward to seeing you when we're able to.
Coach McCauley.
Hello, my name is Catherine McCauley. People call me Katie, but I have been volunteering with the program for, I guess, 3 years right now. I was a winter coach track, a coach in the winter, but I will be volunteering and helping with the throws before Matt comes back. In addition, I help with distance and I help with sprints. It was nice to see everyone. Looking forward to the season.
And Coach McCauley will be our throws coach for a good part of the month of April, because while we're very excited to welcome into the program Coach D'Alessio, he is currently involved as the head coach of a wrestling program. And as we all know, wrestling is going on until the end of April. So he will be sending workouts and setting up different drills and things for our throwers to do. But Coach McCauley, for the month of April, while Coach D'Alessio is not here, will be outside every day with our throwers. And on that, I'm going to introduce Coach D'Alessio.
How's it going? My name is Matt D'Alessio. A little background about me. I am a teacher up at Ewing High School in Central Jersey. I coached track there for 10 years. I was a head coach for 6 years. I have a pretty good background in throws, from throwing at Cherokee High School when I attended high school, and then at the College of New Jersey. So I'm really excited to be part of the program this year, and I thank Coach Russo for bringing me aboard. Unfortunately, like you said, I had to finish up my wrestling season before I could do anything, but that day comes. I'm going to be with Haddonfield track and field until the end of the season.
Fun fact about Coach D'Alessio, a few years ago, we actually had another Coach D'Alessio, Coach's wife, Adrienne D'Alessio, who was at one point Adrienne Butler. She was out helping us with the jumps. She had to take some time away for family, and now we have I don't know which is the better half, and I don't want to cause a stir at home, but Matt joining us this spring. We're super excited to have him. And I think that Coach Seaman is here. So, Coach Seaman, you want to say a few words?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'll be helping with sprints and the jumps. Also the head coach for the winter season, doing similar events, sprints, jumps, and hurdles. Look forward to helping the girls this year and meeting you if I haven't met you before.
Okay, as someone already pointed out, I had the Google Form set to only allow a Haddonfield user to fill out. I changed that, so it should be good now. If it is not, let me know, but I think we're good to go now. I apologize for that. It's just so many different boxes that we have to check and sometimes forget about. So those are the assistants and volunteers I'm very fortunate to work with. Been working with some of these people a long time for a lot of seasons, and we're just so fortunate to have such a strong staff of coaches. And the one thing that you'll find is that these men and women that I get to work with are knowledgeable in a lot of different events. Coach Seaman obviously is the head coach in the winter. Works with a lot of different events in the winter. Coach D'Alessio has been a head coach multiple seasons for track and field and other sports as well. Coach McCauley, I think at our other time in other schools, was assistant, if not head coach of a program. And T. Mills and I have worked together for a really long time. So the knowledge that the coaches that I have with me bring is just incredible. And we're so fortunate to have them. I'm so appreciative of having them all aboard this season. So, our philosophy regarding track and field is really simple. And what I love about the sport is the fact that athletes can see where they are at the beginning of a season, work at it, and measure progression and see over the course of a season, here's where I was and here's where I got to be. And that's one of my favorite things about the sport is that if they're performing at their best, if they're getting a PR, if they're throwing farther than they've ever thrown before, running faster than they've ever run before, then that's progress. And at the end of the day, that's what we're hoping to see. We're hoping to see our athletes are committing to making that progress. They're doing everything that they can to try to make that progress. And if they're doing everything that they can to make that progress, then we're going to be very happy with them being members of the team. What does that look like? That looks like attending practice every day. That looks like communicating when there are conflicts and what's going on and just different things that pop up. It looks like coming to practice with a good attitude, willing to work hard every day. There's just so many ways that our athletes day to day show us I'm committed to getting better. And again, that's the best part about our sport. It's just athletes coming in and putting the work in and getting better. And at the end of the season, if all goes well, they look and say, wow, look at how far I came. And they're excited to see that is a product of the work that they put into it. And that's one of the best feelings in the world for me as a coach is to see them recognize their growth. That's the philosophy that I have regarding the sport. I think a lot of the coaches here share that philosophy. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about, what I feel about the team. Ultimately, the young ladies on this team, especially with there being so many seniors on this team, ultimately, the direction that this team goes in and the goals of this team are going to be driven by the athletes on this team. And in particular, the older athletes of this team are going to, at one point this season, sit down and say, these are the things that we feel like this team can do. And there is a difference in track and field between talking about what I can do and what this team can do. And that can be two different conversations. But in talking about the team, the athletes will drive that conversation. As a coach, my primary goal is going to be to create an environment where they can safely practice and safely compete, doing so in a manner where we're following all of the guidelines and doing everything we can to keep from missing very little time of practicing and to also at the same time progress and get better in the sport. Very excited, extremely excited that this is a season that NJSIA has kind of pegged as saying, we think it's going to happen all the way through. And when I say that, they're talking about postseason. They've set dates for sectionals. They've set dates for states. They've set date for Meet of Champions. This is the first season, as far as I know, where they're progressing with the season, start to finish, saying there will be a postseason, there will be best teams in the state, and there will be best athletes in the events. There are going to be concessions. There are going to be things that have happened in the past that may not happen this season. Certainly, our schedule looks a little different than it has in past springs. You might find that you like it more, might find that you like it less. As the season progresses, I think different things are going to happen. In talking to some coaches this weekend, conversations were already occurring about what about adding a meet and at this point in the season. So this is a different season, and there are going to be a lot of things that are popping up. But very excited to see that there are championships at the end of this season. I know that the coaches agree with me that I am just so excited that our seniors can look and say there are going to be championships at the end of this season. And that's something that I know many of them are very, very, very interested in being a part of. So our goal, my goal for the team and our goal as coaches for the team is, once our girls have established these are the things we'd like to do as a team, to try to guide them to those things as much as we can, help them achieve what they see as their vision for this year's team. And that, again, is aside from just the practicing and competing in a healthy manner, which is primary. If you take a look at, and perhaps it's time where I need to repost these links, so I am going to repost them just in case anybody hopped on and was not able to see them. The top link, again, is the Google form where you can put an email address for yourself if you are interested in receiving emails as a parent. The middle, mid-size also link. So the longest is the Google form. The mid-size one is our athletic website for the team. If you go to the middle one, I think it actually brings you to a specific page of the team website, but from there you can navigate to all of the pages. Okay. If you look at that site, you will see our current schedule. So our current schedule is available. Yes, Mrs. Stoner.
I'm just trying to find the forms. So I just found them. Thank you.
Not a problem. I don't know why. For some reason, I didn't get a chime there. I just happened to see your hand up. So I don't know if I just missed hearing it, but if you have a question, please feel free to unmute and chime in if I don't respond right away to your hand being up. Sorry about that. The school website is going to be my primary way to get information out about our season. Okay. That is, I would ask that you use that as the most trusted source of information, aside from coaches communicating to athletes and parents. And what I mean by coaches communicating to athletes and parents, we currently have an email chain for athletes. We have 67 athletes on that email chain. So periodically, probably about once or twice a week, I have been sending out emails to athletes. It was pointed out to me that email is antiquated and maybe text messaging might be better. So what I've tried to do and may continue to do in the future, because I think this worked well, was to continue sending out an email, but then to take the contents of that email, create a Google Doc with it, and then send out a remind with a link to view that Google Doc. So if an athlete doesn't check their email, like many of our students don't, they will get a remind to their text, to their phone, that will also have the email attached as a Google Doc, if that makes sense. I think when you see it happen, it makes more sense. Will I at some point decide to completely throw away one method or the other? I think that's going to depend on the feedback that I get from the athletes. But I am trying out something new. So email and remind will be my primary ways to communicate with athletes. I will try to keep my remind messages relatively short. So if it is a longer message, I will write it in an email, and then I will post that email in a Google Doc and send out a remind link to that doc. As far as parent email addresses, I am gathering those in case a message needs to be sent out to parents. I know that our booster clubs are also interested in creating a parent email list so that they can quickly send out emails that maybe just need to go to parents. So my primary methods of communication, again, will be email and remind, okay? Please feel free to join Remind. However, the contents of most of my Remind message will be to athletes, okay? The emails the information that needs to go directly to parents will go through a parent email. Hopefully that all makes sense. As far as practices, okay, these next pieces of information are very important. We will practice Monday to Friday, 3:15 until either 4:30 or 5 o'clock. More likely, it's going to be 5 o'clock than it is 4:30. The 4:30 days will be days when we will need to share the field, leave a little bit earlier, hopefully days where we planned on having shorter practices anyway. But you can anticipate that practice will be from 3:15 until about 5 o'clock most days. Okay, that will be Monday to Friday. Saturday mornings, we will have practice. The time will be announced. Most likely it will be based on weather. Most likely it will be somewhere in the vicinity of 7 to 8 to 9 a.m., about 2 hours long. Our first practice will be Thursday, April 1st. That is the first day of spring track and field. Okay. Now, Friday, April 2nd is the first day of spring break. So Friday, April 2nd until April 7th, Friday, Saturday, excluding Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we will have practice over spring break. They will all be in the morning. The time is yet to be determined, although we have spaced out, I believe it was from 7 until 11 a.m., so we can have any 2-hour window in there to have our practices. Again, it will depend on the weather. If we gain a good amount of temperature from 7 or from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, then we're going to wait until 9 o'clock and bring them in. And sometimes the athletes convince us just they want more sleep, so we'll go 9 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock. We will practice every day over spring break. My policy during spring break remains the same as it always has been, and especially this year. You know, I know that that this has been tough. I know that we're now at a point where we're starting to go places. We're starting to get out. It's becoming safer to do things that we haven't been able to do in a while. Okay, you're not in town. You're not in town. We'll get over it. Please communicate. Primarily, send me an email. I will get the information out to the event coaches as well. Although I would say that this season is much more compressed than past seasons. So I think there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be done from April 2nd until April 7th. So as much as we can have athletes there, in particular for the field events and skill events, I think it's going to be critical to have athletes there. You know, April 7th is our last day of break. April 8th, we're back in school. April 20th, not 2 weeks later, we have our first dual meet. Okay, so the time is very compressed. I do know a lot of these athletes have been participating in winter track. You know, I know that they've spent a lot of time training and getting in shape. Okay, and I know that in talking to Coach Seaman, both of us talked about getting them away from practice for a little bit in between winter and spring track. Okay, and we were kind of in agreement with that. But for our new athletes, for our athletes that are working on a brand new skill, on a brand new event, I think it's going to be critical that we have them there as much as possible during break. Again, if you're away, you know, but try to get the athletes there. as far as sorry, my son was coming down the steps. You want to say hi real quick? Because I have a meeting, buddy. Okay. Can you say hi and then can I go back to my meeting? Okay. Sorry about that. My goodness. Okay. So at our practices, here's what we're going to do. We are going to have our athletes meet in pods. As you may have already noticed, our practice time is abbreviated, 3:15 until 5 o'clock, does not give us a lot of time. Coach Seaman has perfected this over the course of the winter, worked really well. We're going to continue to have athletes report directly to a pod. We will have distance pods, we will have sprint pods, and we will have a throws pod. Okay? That is where they will check in. That is where attendance will be taken. That is where their temperatures will be checked by the coach of that pod. Within that pod, they may split into separate pods. So we may have 2 sprint pods or 2 distance pods. Okay. That is to help us with contact tracing and as much as possible to try to minimize contact between a mass of athletes so that if there is something that needs to shut down a portion of the team, we're shutting out a pod rather than an entire group. The COVID forms will still be required. So currently, every day at the beginning of the school day, all of our students are asked to have a parent fill out a COVID form through Genesis in order to participate in an extracurricular activity. They must have that COVID form filled in. Mr. Banos asked by 12:30. He's been a little bit more lenient recently. However, it should be filled in well before practice. So athletes should not be filling it out or having their parents fill it out on their way to practice. It should be filled out in advance. We receive a notice from Mr. Banos of who is cleared to practice. Okay. There are extenuating circumstances where last minute exceptions can be made and athletes can show us the form filled out through Genesis. That is a recent change, but that is an exception to the rule and should not be the norm. Okay. So the COVID forms will need to be filled out. That is critical on Wednesdays and Saturdays when athletes are not going to school. So if they are not attending school in person, often we just forget to fill out the form on Genesis because it's just not the norm. That form needs to be filled out. And in particular on Saturdays when we have practice early in the morning, it becomes a challenge to make sure, especially if we have a 7 a.m. practice, it's a challenge to make sure that that form is filled out in advance for your athlete to be cleared at that 7 a.m. practice. We are going to ask that athletes bring only what they need to practice. Okay. That's just to try to expedite the process of getting off of the fields as quickly as possible. That will help us to maximize our time on the facilities and make sure that it's just at the very end of practice, we're grabbing our belongings and heading out and not interfering with another team that's coming on or interfering with another pod that's practicing in the area where their belongings is now located. So we do ask that they bring only what they need. It shouldn't be much of an issue. With regards to what they need, and track is relatively easy. Something to train in for their feet. So trainers, okay, they may need competitive shoes depending on their event. Sprinter spikes, distance spikes, something along those lines. For our newer athletes that are really unsure of those things, coaches can give them more direction as we get further into the season. And they will receive a full uniform from us, but we always advise our athletes to come to practice in layers. In the event that it's a little bit chilly out at the beginning or at the end of practice, they have those layers there. You can certainly shed layers if you don't need them during practice, but if you didn't have them there in the first place, it's hard to make them appear out of nowhere at the end of practice. So we do ask our athletes to have layers of clothes and make sure that they're prepared for any sort of weather. We will practice rain or shine. Thunderstorm is the one exception. Obviously, there will be minimal to any practicing indoors, but we will practice rain or shine. Just keep an eye on Remind in case something changes with our practice times. Any questions thus far? Cool. Okay, so I'm going to spend some time and talk about our meets. Hopefully, you had a chance to look at the school website and see the meets that are currently on our schedule. Right now, we have all of our conference dual meets on our schedule. We're very fortunate that most of our dual meets are home. I believe we have 2 that are away. I'll get to transportation in a few minutes. You'll also notice some might celebrate this, some may not. There are not a lot of Saturday meets, okay? A lot of those big weekend relay meets have gone away. I don't know how much of a fact this is, but it certainly makes sense. It sounds like Rowan will not happen. And that in part is because of the college's policy to having high school athletes compete in their facilities. That is not fact yet, but that is what I've heard, and that certainly makes sense. Could other meets pop up? Absolutely. Other meets may pop up. It's a strange time. There are lots of coaches, even this weekend, there were coaches coming up to me and saying, let's talk about doing an SJTCA series. There's lots of things that may happen. So right now our schedule looks like it looks. I'm not ridiculously disappointed with it. I'm okay with it right now. If meets come up that look like they would be beneficial to our team or athletes, that is something that we would discuss as a team with athletes and determine whether it's in our best interest to attend, whether as athletes or as a team. This is a different time. Those things will pop up, discussions will happen, the schedule may change from time to time. I appreciate your flexibility as those schedules, as the schedule does change. We will communicate as clearly and as quickly as we can when changes take place. The dual meets are all in our division of the Colonial Conference that are scheduled right now. The Colonial Conference does have a policy that for all dual meets this spring season, each athlete is permitted 2 spectators. So that is the Colonial Conference's policy. That is the policy that should be enforced at any Colonial Conference meet. Each athlete is permitted 2 spectators. I am not sure if we will continue to have the little cards that we were given in the fall to allow you admittance into the meets. I'll update you once that happens. Most likely, if that is the case, those cards will go home with your athletes as they did in the fall. As far as bigger meets, I think it's going to be a question mark with regards to spectators. It does appear that more and more things are opening up. It does appear that allowing spectators has been more the rule rather than the exception. It does appear that it's a limited number of spectators. The one thing that I know is critical, which has not always been true in the past, is that spectators are not on the field. They are not on the track. They are outside of the fences, outside of the facilities. I know that can be difficult, especially if your athlete is participating in a field event and you want to get a closer look. We certainly at home in the past have had parents on the infield watching pole vault. You know, that's certainly an exciting one that comes right to mind. That's not going to be permissible this year. So we do ask that our spectators at this time are outside of the fences or in the stands. As far as transportation, we will have a bus, one bus for our team to all of our away meets. I already said we had 67 girls on the interest list. One bus will not fit 67 girls. Physically will not possibly fit 67 girls. Never mind the COVID guidelines and concerns of cramming 40-something girls on a bus. My advice is going to be an athlete, if they have a ride to a meet, should certainly have a guardian or parent take them to a meet. That will always be permitted. I will always allow it. I will allow it last minute, which I have not done in the past. If an athlete comes up to me the day of and says, Coach Russo, my mom can bring me to the meet, I just found out, is that okay if I go with my mom to the meet? My answer is going to be absolutely. The one thing please be considerate of is we may sometimes not bring athletes to a meet because of the number of athletes that we have on the bus. So if all of a sudden athletes are getting off the bus the day of, it gives us little time to say, oh, you know what? Now we have space to invite some more athletes to that meet. So hopefully those day of notices are the exception, and hopefully it's pre-planned that, yes, I have a ride from mom or dad. They can get me to the meet and they can get me home. Similarly, even if an athlete takes a bus with us to a venue, this is different from the past. I will certainly allow athletes to go home with mom or dad. The only thing that I would ask is that you communicate that with me in writing so that I have record of it, and that if they are leaving from the meet unexpectedly, that communication with me occurs at a time when there is not something exciting going on during the meet. So please try to find a time to grab me and say, hey, I need to pull you away for a minute. We're going to take so-and-so home. This way, I just know not to look for them on the bus. We have seating charts for our bus to and from. So that's going to be, it's going to be critical that I know who's coming with us and who's going home, so that when we're on the bus, we can adjust that seating chart, if that makes sense. And those seating charts are there for the contact tracing again. Athletes will be asked to wear their masks on the bus, transportation. Going back to something from earlier, athletes should always arrive to practice with a mask on. They should leave practice with a mask on. When we are exercising and when we are working out, athletes can certainly remove their mask. When they are sitting around talking and they're no longer exercising, they should have their mask on. Let's see. I remembered something that I wanted to talk about earlier with regards to spring break. Our first day of practice is April 1st. I currently have, I think it's 45 athletes who have turned in paperwork for registration. I believe I have about 40 that are cleared, which is a great number. It's not 67, but it's a really good number. But I worry that as of April 1st, our spring break happens and our staff is not in the building. So if an athlete is not cleared on April 1st, there's a good chance that they will not be cleared to practice until April 8th. So it's going to be critical that we get our paperwork in ASAP, hopefully by the end of this week, if not very early the following week. Again, it's an unusual season that we are away on spring break the very second day of practice, but just need to get all of those forms in as soon as possible. Any questions, anything that I have left out thus far? I'm looking.
Hey, Jason, Jared. Just wondering on the meets, have you heard any updates on Camden counties?
I can tell you what I know, Jared, and this is the, I say what I know, what I've been told. What I've been told is that the school that typically hosts it, does not seem interested in hosting it this year. What
Okay.
I've also heard is that a lot of other schools have started exploring the option of hosting the county meet. So a lot of conversation is starting to occur between different schools saying, maybe we'll host part of it. Now, when I say part of it, what that may look like is a division may go to one school while the other division may go to another, or one gender may go to one school while the other gender goes to another school. That is what I have heard so far. I say I know. I don't know anything. That's just what I've heard.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks.
So I see a message about, can athletes ride to meets with driving students? Athletes should never transport themselves to a meet and should always be transported to a meet with a parent or guardian. The message that I have heard is that we are frowning on carpooling of athletes. So right now we are not promoting the carpooling of athletes. So we are not promoting a parent bringing 5 or 6 athletes over to a meet. If a parent lets me know that they are bringing an athlete over to a meet, I am going to expect to see that athlete at the meet, and I am going to feel comfortable and confident that they arrived with their parent. I hope that that answers that question. Any other questions? The only other thing that I have here on my list of things to talk about, and coaches, please chime in if you feel like I missed anything. We had spoken earlier about what an athlete needs to compete for HMHS. And as far as training goes, it's very little that they need besides the training shoes, the appropriate shoes. We will supply athletes with a singlet. We will most likely supply athletes with a jacket of some sort, a warm-up jacket of some sort. The girls call them parachute shorts. They are longer shorts. They're baggy. They are shorts that the athletes can compete in. Quite frankly, if you ask your daughters about them, if they know what they are, they'll say, "Oh, I don't like those shorts." They're just, for whatever reason, they don't like competing in them. So a few years ago, we permitted athletes to start competing in black spandex shorts. That is permissible. A few years ago, we also started suggesting that athletes purchase a pair of black spandex shorts so that it belonged to them. And if it was purchased through the high school, it was a school, it was a uniform given to the athletes by the school, which is really the only question that our athletes need to confidently answer. If an official ever says, "I see you're in spandex, are they school issued?" Their answer was yes, they were school issued. They purchased them because they did not want to give them back. They weren't interested in sharing them season to season. They were their own, but they were school issued shorts. When we first started issuing those shorts and asking athletes or allowing athletes to purchase them, there were very specific rules about what the shorts needed to look like. Those rules have faded and become murky and kind of gone away. And now the rules more so center on, do the athletes look identical when looking at them from the front and when looking at them from the back? So can anyone in the race from any perspective clearly see that those athletes are on the same team? That is what has become important. Not that they were wearing identical shorts, but that the shorts were similar enough that they were deemed on the same team. So essentially, if an athlete has black spandex shorts, they're permitted to compete in them. We do have a pair of black spandex shorts that athletes can purchase and compete in. And the beauty of them is that they can compete in them in all of the running sports at HMHS. So if an athlete competes in 3 seasons of running sports at HMHS, they can wear the same shorts for all of their competitions. The shorts that are offered are, I believe, a certain length, which a few years ago we were very comfortable with. The boosters were very comfortable with, and the athletes were very comfortable and confident in competing in those shorts. So we do have those shorts available that they can compete in. I believe we also have a practice top available that athletes can practice in. The practice top is a sports bra. We call it a practice top because it is used primarily for practice when it is uncomfortably hot out, and athletes would feel more comfortable practicing in their sports bra. That is something that we moved towards a couple of years ago. We feel very comfortable and confident that our young women can do so in a mature fashion. The conversation is very simple when they are not wearing a cut that is similar to the practice top. The conversation is that is not the agreed upon cut of what we're looking for. And they know, okay, I've got to put a shirt over top of that. But that is a practice top that is available to them for them to purchase as well. Is that the only top that they're permitted to wear? No, it is not. However, anything that they do wear should be of the same cut. With all of that, I'm going to hand it over to Amy Natikia, who is one of the parents directing our booster club this spring in conjunction with Lisa Good and Kathy Smith. But I think Amy had some things that she wanted to highlight today. And if you guys have any questions when Amy is done, we can come back to me. So Amy, they're all yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Natikia. I have 2 daughters on the team. I have Audrey, who is a freshman, and Sarah, who is a senior. I am working together, like Coach Russo said, with Lisa Good, who also has 2 daughters on the team, Allison and Jessica. And I am working together with Kathy Smith, and her daughter is Ava Thomas, a freshman. Having said that, the more the merrier. So if anyone is interested in helping at any point, please contact either any of us. And there's lots to be done, and lots of hands make light work. Things that I'm going to go through right now will also be shared on a Google Doc, and it should be communicated through a remind, like Coach Russo was saying. So I'll throw a couple dates at you and some things like that. But again, you should get this in writing. The first order of business is we do collect dues. The dues for the spring season are $25, and this helps to cover the senior and coach gifts, as well as some food for team events. We do have Venmo set up this year, and our Venmo is at HMHS_girls track, all lowercase. But again, you will get that in writing. If you prefer to do a check, please make it out to HMHS Girls Track Booster Club, and feel free to send it to 59 Potter Street. We have to be flexible, just like the rest of the season. So we do have some fun events planned. Some of them are already approved. Some of them we're just going to wait and see how the season goes. But our first team building event is planned for Saturday, April 10th, and it's a grab and go breakfast. If anyone is interested in contributing, donating items, please email me at amynatikia@hotmail.com. For winter track, we bagged all those breakfasts and kind of handed them to the girls. We're hoping for this season, we could at least set up like a buffet table and give each athlete a bag and they can fill their bag. But again, we just have to wait to see how things progress with the season. There is a Haddonfield Invitational this season, which is exciting. For those of you who don't know what that is, it is a fun event for the girls and boys athletes. Colonial Conference is typically there, and Bishop Eustace, some other schools also participate. It will be the 31st running of the Haddonfield Invitational, so it does have a nice, rich history, and I know the kids look forward to it very much. Many volunteers are needed to make this run smoothly. Kathy Smith has decided to take on the volunteers and organizing them. Everyone is expected to take a shift. It typically goes from about 4 o'clock to 8:30 in the evening. So if you could just mark May 20th on your calendar, that we could use an extra set of hands. Sometimes the jobs are working in the infield to set up some of the jumps, but there's always a lot to be done that day. So we always appreciate the help. The Haddonfield Invitational also has a program book, and that has become the largest source of income for the program, for both the boys and the girls, is this program book. Each athlete will be expected to sell one ad for the program book. The minimal contribution is $30. So that you could ask a small business in town that you frequent if they would like to advertise a small ad in the book for $30, or a lot of families use this as an opportunity to kind of have a nice sentiment towards their athlete, especially for seniors. It's a nice time to acknowledge their dedication, and sometimes they'll put a picture of the athlete and just have a nice well wishes. Sadie Slutsky, who is the mom of Riley, who was a freshman, has generously offered her time and efforts to organize this program. So I'm sure that we will hear more from her about the program, but I just thought I'd mention it now. So just to get your wheels turning, whether you wanted to ask a business in advance or start to think about something that you would want to put in the program for your athlete. Another fun event for Friday, May 21st, and this would be the day after the invitational, would be a nice time for everyone just to relax and have a movie night in the courtyard. However, I was notified that this might be a conflict for seniors. So we have to, that might be their beach day. So I will work on that date and communicate if there'll be any changes to the movie night in the courtyard. I did secure equipment to show the movie in the courtyard, but I am not tech savvy. So if anyone is happy to come and help me set that up or help us get it going, I would really appreciate that. Thursday, June 3rd. This is pending approval from the athletic department, but we are hoping to have a spring track banquet, which will be really nice because it's been quite some time since any of the sports have been able to have a banquet. And it's just a nice time for everyone to celebrate the accomplishments of the athletes. They work hard all season. We are hoping to have that in the cafeteria pending approval. So just pencil that date in. And it's a nice date because the next day the kids have arts in the courtyard at school. So hopefully no one will be rushing home to do their homework. And finally, spirit wear. Coach Russo touched upon the black spandex a little bit. I did set up a store through hersport.com, and it has team gear, and the gear is not a fundraiser. So the purpose of the gear is just to help the girls train and look their best, little school spirit and pride. The school store is open now. I'm hoping to close it by April 2nd. So that is not a lot of time to order if you're interested, but I would like to make that window small for ordering just so that we can actually get the apparel while we're in season and the girls can actually use it for spring track. So again, the closing date of the school store at hersport.com is April 2nd. You do need a passcode to shop the Haddonfield Track and Field store. That password is DAWGS21, DAWGS 21, all caps. If your athlete needs black spandex, they are offered there. They also have red spandex offered. The red spandex would only be for practice. The black spandex would be ones that are appropriate to compete in. Otherwise, it's just running tights and sweatshirts and just some fun things. I picked the items that did well last season. And finally, I guess I did not put t-shirts on the school store because we hope to do a Haddonfield Invitational t-shirt. In years past, it's something that parents like to wear as well as the athletes. So more information on the t-shirt will be forthcoming. Look forward to a fun season. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. All great stuff. The Haddonfield Invitational, having that is an